Think canned meat can't be fascinating? Think again. Behind that perplexing blue can lies a world of precision machineries, tightly controlled ingredients, and decades of food engineering secrets. By the end of this video, you'll never view Spam the same way. Or maybe you will. Let's dive into the factory floor and crack open the mystery of how Spam is made. Let's rewind to 1937, Austin, Minnesota, a small Midwestern town with big ambitions. J. Hormel, the son of the company's founder, was staring at a problem no one else in the meat business wanted to solve. Pork shoulders were piling up in warehouses. They were tough cuts, too fatty for roasts, too bony for chops. But Jay wasn't one to waste. Instead, he saw potential. If he could find a way to grind, season, and preserve this meat, maybe, just maybe, he could create something revolutionary. After months of tinkering, the answer came in the form of a compact rectangular loaf that didn't need refrigeration, stayed fresh for years, and could be eaten straight out of the can. A loaf that was equal parts practicality and curiosity. A loaf that would change food history forever. Now came the question, what do you call it? J. Hormel decided to let the people decide. A naming contest was launched, and among hundreds of entries came a short, punchy, two-syllable word with no clear meaning, Spam. Some say it stood for spiced ham. Others whisper about shoulder of pork and ham. Jay, however, stayed coy. He liked that it was short, memorable, and impossible to forget. The name stuck, and with it, a brand was born. Spam entered the market just in time to meet a world that was about to change forever. By the early 1940s, World War II had gripped the globe and fresh meat was becoming scarce. Spam was the hero no one knew they needed. Lightweight, long-lasting, and ready to eat. The US military bought it in bulk, shipping millions of cans to soldiers overseas. At first, the troops weren't sure what to make of it. It was salty, it was soft, it didn't look like the Sunday roasts from back home, but it was there when nothing else was. Spam kept them fed through the mud of the Pacific, the freezing cold of Europe, and everywhere in between. And something unexpected happened. It traveled with them, not just as rations, but as part of their identity. When the war ended, Spam didn't stay behind in America's kitchens. It spread across the world. In Hawaii, it became a breakfast staple. In South Korea, it found its way into bubbling stews. In the Philippines, slices of fried Spam landed between garlic rice and sunny-side-up eggs. What had started as a clever solution to a meat surplus had transformed into cultural currency. By the 1950s, Spam wasn't just food, it was pop culture. Advertisements beamed cheerful housewives serving Spam sandwiches to smiling families. Kids grew up with the sound of a can being opened, that metallic snap, as part of their dinner soundtrack. And let's not forget Monty Python's iconic Spam sketch, which turned the brand into a comedic legend. But beyond the marketing and the laughs, Spam's rise was rooted in something far more universal: adaptability. It could be breakfast, lunch, dinner, or a midnight snack. It could be eaten cold, fried, baked, diced, or mashed. And for millions of people, especially in regions recovering from war or facing food scarcity, it was more than just a convenience. It was survival. And so, in less than 2 decades, Spam went from being a quirky canned meat in Minnesota to a global phenomenon. Love it or hate it, it had a place on plates from the Midwest to Manila. But here's the question that's been gnawing at people for decades. What actually goes into that iconic brick of pink meat? Is it really as mysterious as it looks? Or is the truth a lot simpler than the myths suggest? Believe it or not, the recipe for Spam hasn't ballooned into a chemical cocktail over the years. No, there aren't 600 hidden additives, no unpronounceable lab-made compounds, no shady mystery meat powder. In fact, the classic version you find on store shelves today is made with just 6 ingredients. That's it, 6. Let's break them down one by one, and you might be surprised at just how straightforward they really are. Pork shoulder and ham, the backbone of Spam. Pork shoulder often gets overlooked in traditional butchery. It's fatty, it's tough, it's not as glamorous as pork loin, but that's where Spam's genius lies. Ground up and blended with leaner cuts of ham, you get the perfect ratio of fat to protein. The shoulder brings moisture and richness, while the ham adds structure and flavor. Together, they create that smooth yet meaty texture you can slice cleanly but still bite into with ease. Salt. This one's a no-brainer. Salt isn't just for flavor, it's the oldest preservative in the book. Long before refrigeration, people were using salt to keep meat from spoiling. In Spam, salt does double duty. It seasons every bite and helps prevent the growth of harmful bacteria. That signature savory punch you taste in Spam, that's the salt working its magic. Water. It might sound boring, but water is essential in the Spam making process. It helps evenly distribute the seasoning, ensures the meat mixture stays moist, and works with the potato starch to give Spam its famous bounce. Without water, Spam wouldn't slice as neatly or feel as tender. Potato starch. Here's where the texture wizardry comes in. Potato starch is added later in the production process, not to bulk up the meat, but to hold it together. It traps moisture, prevents the fat from separating during cooking, and gives Spam that distinctive springy, almost custard-like bite. Ever notice how you can fry a slice of Spam without it crumbling apart? You can thank potato starch for that. Sugar. This one often surprises people. Sugar in meat? Absolutely. A small amount of sugar rounds out the saltiness, balancing the flavor so it's not overwhelmingly savory. It also subtly enhances browning when you cook Spam, giving those fried edges that irresistible golden crust. Sodium nitrite. The most debated ingredient in the list, but also one of the most important. Sodium nitrite has been used in cured meats for over a century. Its main job? Stopping Clostridium botulinum, the bacteria that causes botulism, from growing. That's not something you want in your lunch. As a bonus, sodium nitrite also locks in that glossy pink color Spam is famous for. Without it, your Spam would be a dull gray, not nearly as appetizing, and that's it. 6 ingredients, each playing a specific role. No fillers, no mystery slurry, no Frankenstein chemistry experiment. Just a carefully balanced formula that's been perfected over decades. The next time someone calls Spam mystery meat, you'll know better. It's not a mystery. It's meat, seasoning, and a little food science working together. But ingredients are only half the story. The real magic happens when these 6 simple components are transformed inside the Hormel factory. That's where precision engineering meets old-school butchery. So how exactly do they take these raw parts and turn them into that famous pink brick? Behind that small, unassuming rectangular can lies a massive, automated ballet. An industrial performance so choreographed it almost feels like you're watching a factory version of Swan Lake. Hormel runs 2 major Spam plants in North America, one in Austin, Minnesota, the birthplace of Spam, and another in Fremont, Nebraska. Between them, they produce enough Spam to keep millions of kitchens stocked around the world. And once you see how it's done, you'll never look at that can the same way again. Here's how it all comes together, step by step. The process begins with the raw material, pork shoulder and ham, delivered fresh to the plant. In Austin, it comes in on refrigerated trucks, ready for processing. Pork shoulders are deboned by specialized machines that work with mechanical precision, stripping away bone and excess fat without wasting meat. Ham, on the other hand, is trimmed by skilled workers because certain cuts require a human eye for quality. Every piece is inspected before moving on, ensuring that only the best parts make it into Spam. Next, the meat heads into industrial grinders that are nothing like your countertop version. These colossal machines process 8,000-pound batches at a time. Imagine enough ground meat to fill a small swimming pool, all tumbling into the next stage of production. The goal here is a consistent texture, fine enough to blend smoothly, but still with just enough structure to give Spam its recognizable bite. From grinding, the meat is flash-cooled to keep bacteria at bay and to lock in freshness. Then it enters massive vacuum mixers. This is where those 6 legendary ingredients, salt, water, potato starch, sugar, and sodium nitrite, are added. The vacuum environment is key. It prevents oxidation, keeps the texture dense but smooth, and ensures every molecule of seasoning is evenly distributed. Think of it as marinating on a factory scale, but in minutes instead of hours. Now comes the moment where Spam starts to look like Spam. The meat mixture is pumped through tubes into open cans in a seamless, almost hypnotic motion. Each can is filled to the exact gram, ensuring everyone is identical. Then the cans are sealed instantly, locking in the freshness before the cooking even begins. The sealed cans are loaded into a 6-story steam cooker, a giant vertical sterilizer that looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. For several hours, steam under high pressure cooks the meat inside the cans. This step not only kills any bacteria, but also creates that thin gelatin layer on top of the meat, a natural byproduct of the pork's proteins breaking down. That gelatin is one of Spam's signature traits, and it's totally edible. Once cooked, the cans are quickly cooled to halt the cooking process and maintain texture. They're washed, dried, and sent through high-speed labelers that wrap each can in its familiar blue and yellow design. After that, they're boxed, palletized, and loaded onto trucks bound for grocery stores, military bases, and markets around the globe. In some plants, the scale is mind-boggling. Over 33,000 cans can be cooked every single hour. That's nearly 800,000 cans in a single day. The process is so efficient that there's barely room for people to stand between the machinery. Every inch of the production floor is dedicated to speed, safety, and precision. And just like that, what started as raw pork shoulder and ham becomes the iconic pink loaf you can fry, bake, dice, or eat straight from the can. But here's the thing. Spam isn't just a product of modern machinery. Its rise to global fame had as much to do with history as with technology. So how did this humble canned meat become a cultural icon? Spam's legendary shelf life isn't magic, it's science. The secret starts with how it's cooked. Once the pork shoulder and ham mixture is sealed in its can, it's cooked right inside that container in a massive steam chamber. This sterilizes the meat, kills harmful bacteria, and creates an airtight seal. With no oxygen inside, spoilage slows to a crawl. Sodium nitrite is the unsung hero of the recipe. While it does give Spam its iconic pink hue, its real job is protection. Nitrite prevents dangerous bacteria growing, locks in the savory flavor, and stops the meat from turning gray. When Spam debuted in 1937, refrigeration wasn't universal. Canned meat that could survive for years without spoiling was a game changer. During World War II, it kept soldiers fed on distant fronts and became a staple in homes from the US to the Pacific Islands. Even now, decades later, Spam's shelf-stable formula means it can wait in your pantry for years, ready for breakfast, fried rice, or straight from the can, just the way J. Hormel imagined. Yes, Hawaii eats the most Spam per capita, often wrapped in rice. Spam musubi is practically its own identity. Guam, South Korea, and the Philippines transformed Spam into something special, sometimes even a luxury gift. This humble canned meat jumped from army rations to pop culture icon, fueling everything from singing Vikings on Monty Python to Spam festivals and museums in Austin, Minnesota. What keeps Spam around for nearly 9 decades? Beyond taste, it's nostalgia, novelty, and culinary adaptability. There's a flavor for every palate, from classic to teriyaki, jalapeno, and more. During World War II, Spam was literally everywhere. That ubiquity built its brand. You either loved it, hated it, or sang about how you hated it. That's marketing magic. Spam teaches a big lesson. Sometimes simple ingredients and smart engineering create something far greater than the sum of its parts. From a solution for surplus meat to a global staple, Spam is both science and culture in a can. What do you think? Might you try frying it, or is Spam forever off your plate? If this peek behind the Hormel curtain surprised you, and maybe made you crave or ditch a slice of Spam, like and subscribe for more tasty stories from kitchen factories and food mysteries revealed.